How's it going, everybody? This is the Music Production Podcast. Thanks for listening. My name's Brian Funk. I make music as AfroDJMac. I'm not a DJ. I'm a I'm a songwriter, producer, teacher, and Ableton certified trainer. And today I've been thinking a little bit about regrets, and I want to talk about my regrets or how I approach them and an actual lesson I've learned recently about regrets. And finally, it will culminate for the very first time on the Music Production Podcast with a little bit of music, as funny as that may sound. And it's something I plan to do more often, is to have more music on this show. But at the present time, there's been so much to talk about, people that I've been interviewing and just ideas I've had in my head where I haven't got around to that. But you can expect more of that coming up soon. So one thing I've learned, and this will, of course, apply to our music making, is that most of my regrets in life, and I think most people's regrets in life, come not from the things they do, but by the things they left undone. And I think there's an old proverb that goes something like, many a false step has been made by standing still, by not doing things, by remaining inactive. And I can think of a bazillion times in my life where I've not done something and either come to regret it or maybe not even regret it. But I can see that perhaps it was a regret by looking at the inverse. So by that I mean there have been a lot of times in my life where I didn't want to do something and I decided to do it, and then ultimately it paid off. There were rewards. It made me feel good. I was happy. I got results, whatever it might be. And that was because I actually pushed myself to do something. So I think the overall lesson for today, and this might be a short one, but it's going to be do it. Just do it. YOLO, as they say. And don't hesitate. A lot of times we look back and it's the missed opportunities that we are sad about. And this can apply to lots of things in life. Having those difficult conversations with people, confronting them on issues that need to be discussed. It's often a lot easier to let things go, let them pass. I'm of course guilty of that often. But when you actually open up and talk about the things that you need to talk about, you make progress. Being honest is another good example. Sometimes it's a lot easier to just tell a little lie, a small one. But when you're honest, when you're straightforward, it gives you less to worry about, and you can have a kind of clean conscience. I think it was Mark Twain maybe that said something along the lines of, if you always tell the truth, you never have to remember anything. And I like that a lot because I find that, one lie, one false story often leads to another to back it up, and it just gets yourself, deeper and deeper in this hole of lies, this web of lies that we weave for ourselves. You can apply this to things like exercise even. I know sometimes I don't feel like doing exercise or working out or whatever, training, and it's very easy to come up with the excuses of why you shouldn't do it. Whether you're tired, you need to get up early in the morning, you got to do this, you got to do that. But they're all just excuses. I think, another quote I read actually at my school, one of those inspirational posters you see, usually with like a cat hanging from a tree limb or something. And it said, if it's important, you'll find a way. And if it's not, you'll find an excuse. And that definitely applies to exercise in my life and a lot of other things too. The story I want to tell you that applies to this little lesson happened, I guess it was early April. So every year, my high school that I work at does this really awesome event called the Acoustic Cafe, in which they basically turn the school into an open mic night. And everyone can come down, they can read poetry, they can play music, they can do stand-up comedy. The doors are pretty open. But the idea is just that you get a few minutes to go up there and do something that you'd like to do in front of an audience. So I've always gone and played some music, usually acoustic guitar, and usually with my good friend Alex, who goes by the name of Super Kid 3D. And we'll usually play acoustic guitars and sing a couple songs, usually originals. That's usually what we like to do. We like to take the songs we've written and show them to the world. And last year we kind of stretched the rules of the Acoustic Cafe a little bit. We did some, I used the OP1, and I also used the iPad for a couple little synthesizer apps. And I used an app called Accordion. It's basically a omnichord. So you press like a key and it makes a chord, and then there's something you can strum as well on the side. It's an awesome app. It's one of the better uses of the iPad interface, in my opinion. I'll put a link to that, Accordion. But this year we decided we wanted to do some covers, and we thought it'd be cool if we did songs that we liked when we were in high school. Now, it's always difficult to get together with work and schedules and wives and girlfriends and lives and families and dogs and whatever it is. It can be difficult to find the time, or to get over the laziness, really, maybe is the real thing. So we got together a couple times and we had a great time hanging out, playing, but we didn't really ever settle on the songs we wanted to do. We had a hard time just settling down. There's so many great songs, right? So many awesome covers. At least when you're doing originals, you have a limited selection. But when you're doing covers, you can just do anything. So the few nights we got together, we wound up just kind of going through lots of songs that we liked, figuring out which ones we could kind of play, which ones worked out. But we never settled on the two we wanted to do. And as the week approached, I was filled with a lot of stress about it, because I just didn't think we were ready. I didn't think we had a good plan. And then a swarm of other doubts just filled my head. And chief among them was, why? Why do we need to get up and play these two songs that we haven't even figured out what we want to play? We don't even know how to play them yet, or even what songs they're going to be. Why do we need to get up there and do it? And it was up until a couple days before the actual show where I thought about dropping off. Why are we going to get up there and do something that we haven't worked out, that we don't really have a plan for? And I've felt bad about it, because I really loved the night and I love being a part of it. And it's a great way to kind of see everyone that I work with, the teachers, the students, in a different light, and to show myself in a different light than normal. So we kind of last minute settled on a few songs. We picked And I Love Her by the Beatles and Heart of Gold by Neil Young. And there were a couple reasons why it wound up being those songs. Number one was that I felt we could play them pretty well, and it worked out nicely with the two guitars. And number two, it kind of fit a theme that I see in doing this particular show. One of the big lessons of the show comes from the teacher that organizes it. And it's a memorial show for a teacher who had passed away. And he was that teacher's student teacher, so he worked under her. And one of the things she said was that we go to work, we work with kids, we do our job, not for testing, not for even the subject matter, but it's really about forming relationships. And that's something that the teacher, Mr. Antonucci, had said many times on many different occasions of over the years that I've been there, probably 10 times now, 10 years, about it's all about forming relationships. But something really struck me about it last year when he said it, and it just hit a chord at just the right time for me. And it changed the way I kind of approached my teaching at the end of last year and going into this year. And I think with that as my guiding principle, that this is about forming relationships, about helping people, being there for them, it really changed how my year went. And I had one of my best school years this year. And I'm just wrapping up the school year now. And I can look back and say that I really got the most out of this school year personally than many of the others I've ever had. And it was really due to this change of attitude I had about forming relationships and helping people. Sometimes it's easy as a teacher to get caught up in holding people accountable, making them pay for what they've done. This person hasn't done their work all year and I'm going to show them that they were wrong. But I find that to be kind of a poisonous attitude, because you sort of start going on a witch hunt, trying to catch people. And that's not what the job's about. It's about helping people. Any educational job, whether it's the music production or high school, it's about helping people. You're not there to rub their nose in something they've done wrong, because they're there to learn. They're not there to be punished. And I found myself approaching the year, how can I help people pass? How can I help people through these things? Much more than that kind of, how can I make sure they pay? How can I hold them accountable type of thing? And I think that that's a bad way to kind of live your life, to think about how you're going to hold people accountable, because it doesn't really do anyone any good. I mean, it's kind of like if there's a fight with two people, right? I mean, the idea behind a fight half the time is, I'm going to punch that guy out, and that'll show him, that'll teach him. Well, that's not the lesson people learn when you punch them out. They don't learn like, oh, I guess I was wrong. I guess I did the wrong thing here. Now that I've been beat up, I understand that. It doesn't teach them that. It just teaches them that you're the asshole that punched them in the face, and they're going to be more mad at you. It's just going to lead to more problems. And that maybe is a little asterisk I should put into this regrets idea that you should just do it. I think the exception to that would be being mean and vindictive. Those are things I've done and I regret, where many of the other things in my life, or at least if I've done, even if I've failed at it, I've learned something and I don't feel the regrets for it. But being mean, being vindictive, going out of my way to do some harm to some other person, those are the things that I regret when I look back. And, I feel shame for, embarrassment. And ultimately, the thing I was trying to do, which was prove whatever point it was to show that I was hurt or upset or whatever my motivation was to do those sorts of things in my life, that wasn't what came across, and that wasn't the message that was delivered. The message that delivered was that I'm a jerk. And that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to let people know that I'm a jerk. I want to leave the world a better place than it was when I got here. So it was pretty counterintuitive to what my ultimate goals are in the big picture of life. So maybe when we talk about regretting things you don't do, as opposed to the things you do, being mean and vindictive are things that I think if you do, you will ultimately regret. So maybe leave those out of the repertoire. But anyway, back to the teaching thing, my approach became more, how can I help people pass? How can I help them get through? How can I help them reach their goals? And it was just a way more rewarding way to approach the year. And this is a lesson I learned from my experience, but hearing it from the teacher, Mr. Antonucci, was really valuable. And it also proves that what he's doing by memorializing the teacher that we lost was that the message continues. It goes on. It gets passed on. And it was a message I heard not from her, but from the person she told. And I'm hoping that maybe this lesson will get passed on now to you and other people. And it's nothing extraordinary. It's nothing groundbreaking, but sometimes when you hear it, at certain times, it just sort of shakes you up. And I think that's a lot of truth, to wisdom in general, is that a lot of it we kind of know, but sometimes it's when you hear it, where you are in your own mental space, that makes the difference. And I heard this, it was especially last year where it struck me, and it reverberated throughout the year. And when I got to the point where I was deciding, maybe I'm not going to play this year. We're not prepared. Why should we do it? We don't even have the songs together. We don't even know what songs we're going to do. And we're just doing them to do them. We're just playing to play. It just seemed pointless at that moment. But I got to thinking about the message, and one of the songs that jumped out was Heart of Gold by Neil Young. This idea that you're searching for that heart of gold, you're searching for that thing, that lets you live and experience life and share the good things. So once that song came to be, it was kind of set in my head like, yeah, we got to do this. It's important. It's important for me. It's important to get the message across. So we decided to do those two songs, but we didn't have much time to rehearse, so we had to figure out a way to do it. And I think when you are pressed for time, and when you have deadlines, when you have the pressure, we find a way. We adapt. Human beings are adaptable people and species. I mean, all of us, every single one of us, are descendants of the humans that adapted, the species and animals we all evolved from. We are the descendants of the ones that made it. So it's in our DNA to figure it out and to go and get it done. I'm making our performance sound extremely important and epic, but I think there's a lesson to it, that we have it within us. We're capable of a lot more than we think we are. I'll say that again. We're capable of a lot more than we think we are. I think that's a good lesson that you learn if you have a great trainer when you're working out, when you're exercising, when you're learning something. A teacher will show you that you're capable of more than you think you can do, and they'll take you there. And it's so rewarding. And when we don't think we can do it and we give up, we never get to see that through. So that's maybe a regret we don't even realize we would have, is that you could have gone farther. You could have done more. So we did have a couple hitches. We weren't prepared exactly to play this show, so we had to rehearse a bit on our own. And I found, when I wanted to do the Neil Young song, I wanted to play the harmonica and the guitar, but I was finding that, my rhythm and the harmonica playing with the guitar was just not working out enough that I was going to be comfortable to do it in a performance. So we decided that I wouldn't play guitar. We left that out, and I just sing and play the harmonica. And of course, as it goes, even once we made this decision, there was still all of the insecurities that come along with anytime you have to perform or push yourself. The guitar playing wasn't there, or the vocals weren't there, or I don't really know how to play the harmonica very well. All of that stuff came through, but we decided to push through and just make the best of it. And before the show happened, we got together a little early, we rehearsed, and it was only the last time we played the songs through that they sounded really good, at least to our ears. You might disagree when you hear it. I think the performance that I'm going to share with you that we recorded at the show was the best performance we did of the songs. And it's not perfect. I mean, for instance, I kind of flubbed the guitar solo a little bit on And I Love Her. You might notice it. I probably shouldn't tell you that, but, whatever. You can be a fun thing to listen for you. But all in all, I think it did come out really nice, and the message and the spirit of what we did came through. And when you listen to the recording, you will hear that there's a little speech in the middle of it that I left in there. Normally I cut that stuff out because we've done this for a few years. I've posted it. I'll post the links to the past shows, but I usually cut out the banter in between songs. But I felt that it helped capture the spirit of what we were doing, because I spoke a bit about what I just spoke to you about, the impact the event itself has and the overall message had on me, and how my year went and how it's changed my life in some ways. And I think it tied in nicely with the songs, especially the Neil Young song. So you might hear that it's not the most perfect performance, but I think it is nice, and it's got some character and some feeling behind it. We recorded it really simply. We just stuck an iPhone behind us on a chair and let the phone pick up the room just of what it sounded like. So it's a little noisy. It's not the greatest recording, but it captures it. And the lesson I really learned from this that was reinforced was this idea that we regret the things we don't do. And I would have really regretted not doing this, because I got so much out of it. Got to see people, got to see students in a new light and how talented they all are. Got to share my passion for music with them and make new connections with people that I didn't know were into the same things I'm into, and they didn't know that I was into. And that opens up new ways to connect and reach people. And I think as a teacher, and even just as a human being, that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to reach each other. We're trying to connect. We're trying to share what we all have inside us that's special and unique. And any opportunity to do that should really be seized upon and should be taken advantage of. So I will now put on, for the very first time on this podcast, a little bit of music. It's me and my buddy Alex playing And I Love Her by the Beatles. and Heart of Gold by Neil Young. So enjoy.
So this is a Beatles song. It's called And I Love Her. I give her all my love, that's all I do. And if you saw my love, you'd love her too. And I love her. She gives me everything, and tenderly the kiss my lover brings, she brings to me, and I love her. A love like ours could never die, as long as I have you near me. Bright are the stars that shine, dark as the sky. I know this love of mine will never die, and I love her. Bright are the stars that shine, dark as the sky. I know this love of mine will never die, and I love her. Give a teacher a microphone and he'll talk your ear off for 42 minutes. So here I go. I never got to meet Karen Jacobson, but I've been doing this acoustic cafe thing for a while. It's great when Nick is done. So first I want to say thanks to Nick. And last year, Nick was speaking about what he learned from Mrs. Jacobson about making connections with people. I'd heard him say it before. And somehow, I don't know, maybe the time was right or I was ready. And those words really kind of, struck a chord in me. Not to make a music joke. But I've kind of, over the summer, let that sort of marinate and apply that this year in the school year. And this school year has been my favorite school year so far. In 10 or 11 years. And I think what's cool is it's something I heard from Mr. Antonucci and something that came from Mrs. Jacobson. And it's just proof that what you're doing is working. And I want to thank you for that because it's enriched my life and my classes and everything. So, thank you. And this next song, I guess, kind of fits that concept. It's a Neil Young song. It's called Heart of Gold. been to Hollywood, I've been to Redwood, I've searched the oceans for a heart of gold. I've been in my mind, such a fine mind, keeps me searching for a heart of gold. I'm getting old, keeps me searching for a heart of gold. I'm getting old. Searching for a heart of gold. Keep me searching, oh, oh. Keep me searching for a heart of gold. I've been a miner for a heart of gold. Oh.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope the overall message, more than anything, has made an impact on you in some way, or reminded you of some of the importance of doing things. You know, maybe today you don't feel like making music too much, but just force yourself to. Instead of watching another episode of something on Netflix, or instead of kind of wasting time on Facebook or whatever your time suck is personally, sit down, make some music, even if it's for just 10 minutes. Just spend a little bit of time. You're not going to regret it. You're going to feel, it's going to take you somewhere. You're going to feel good about it. And you're going to improve at your craft. And what's wrong with that? How much harm can that do? So thanks again for listening. This is the Music Production Podcast. If you're enjoying this, please subscribe to the podcast, whether that's on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you're listening, SoundCloud even. If you're kind enough and have the time and motivation, I'd love it if you could review it or share it with your friends. Let them know that you're enjoying this. All that support is really appreciated. And, I don't have any sponsors, so if you want to support it, I do have a Patreon, which I'm starting to work on a little bit, but also you can check out some of the stuff at my store. Maybe join the Music Production Club and you'll get a cool download every month for your Ableton Live needs. But more than anything, if you would let someone know that you're enjoying it, I would really appreciate that. So thanks a lot for listening, and I hope you have a great day and do something that you won't regret.